on YouTube. I think it's about time I spoke about this because I don't think I've ever spoke about it in grave detail. Maybe skirted around the edge of it back when it happened. But it seems to be turning up in my life over and over again that I kind of almost need to talk about it. Back in 2015, my girlfriend got diagnosed with breast cancer. And they panicked, right? Because they found a lump that was 7.5 centimetres by 6.5 centimetres by 5.5 centimetres. Which as a rule is like grade 4 terminal cancer, you're going to die, you must have a secondary, etc. So there was this massive panic. So for about 2 or 3 weeks, no one knew what was going on. I didn't know what was going on. It was fucking awful. Turns out that my girlfriend's got very, very thick skin because her mum's from the Caribbean. She's white. But she's got very thick skin, so it turned out that the cancer didn't leave via the lymph nodes, and only one was infected, and that saved her life. Her grade 3, grade 4 cancer turned into grade 2B cancer because of its size. Anyway, cut a long story short, 2015, went through all the fucking treatment. 2018, she was clear of cancer, and has been since. We're in 2022. Obviously, there's a whole extensive load of shit that I done alongside what they were doing pharma-wise, and with the permission of the surgeon and the oncologist, because it turns out that if you talk to the oncologist and the surgeon and suggest things, they can't suggest things to you, but you can suggest things to them, and they'll tell you if it's okay or not. And Laura's surgeon kept saying, look at America, look at America, look at America, look at America. So like when I suggested, milk thistle for a liver, yeah, take it. Iron for just to keep a fucking iron levels up. Vitamin D for immune system, she's like, yeah, take it. I'm like, what about hemp oil, cannabis oil? She's like, yeah, take it. They can't suggest it because of parliamentary acts and statutes that are put there to protect you, so witch doctors don't sell you some fucking bogus treatment that won't be effective. And it's there to protect you, but it also hinders you. It's a real fucking fine line. But what's bothering me so much is there's all different ways of how you can get cancer. And it can be genetic, just something that you're going to get. It doesn't matter what you do, how you spend your life. It could be luck. And luck it plays a role, I'm afraid, because we manifest and give out energies and stuff and bring things back. You know, what we give out, we receive back. And a lot of things we create ourselves. Sickness we create, disease, dis-ease. You know, if you're at dis-ease, you're not... you can create diseases. There's a placebo effect. It's a known thing. We all know about placebo effect. Of course there's that as well. Also, if you live downtown from a nuclear power station, you might have some issues. If you worked in an X-ray department, you might have some issues. If you eat meat on a level that's fucking new, you might have some issues. If you eat just beige food, you might have some issues. If you smoke 60 cigarettes a day, you might have some issues. If you put coke up your nose every fucking day, you might have some issues. If you drink fucking 4 bottles of vodka every day, you might have some issues. So the key is moderation. Obviously, moderation. You've got to live your life. But the thing is this cesspit of shit that we live in, this world that we live in, is intoxicated with absolute shocking shit. Like, the first thing that everyone should be addressing from the offset is the food chain. What the fuck is that about? How are people not seeing what's wrong? You know, people can't even eat the right amount of food, you know, because you eat food for the day. A week later, you weigh more. You eat food for the day, another week, you weigh a bit more. So if you're putting on weight, you're eating too much food, so don't. Right, obviously, there's a bit more complexity to that, but when it comes to food portions, food production, you buy anything that's produced on a production line, they've taken the fat out and replaced it with sugar. Now, sugar's alright, nothing wrong with sugar, it depends on how much sugar you eat. You're not supposed to eat fucking gallons of it every day. You know, there's all this fucking, you can't eat a carbohydrate. What do you mean you can't eat a carbohydrate? There's some people who might have genetic makeup that they don't need as much carbs. What do you think you run on? Glucose. What do you think your muscles have? They have glycons. You know, it's like people go on about, drink diet Coke, you won't get fat. Of course you get fat. Do you know, when you eat something, your tongue has sensors on the end of it, and it tells your brain that you've eaten sugar, because the only thing you've got is sour or sweet. They're the only fucking senses on your fucking tongue. The moment your brain thinks you're eating something sweet, it sends a signal to your pancreas to make more insulin. So when you don't actually consume the sugar and the insulin's running around your bloodstream with nothing to fucking deal with, you crave more carbohydrates, hence you eat more, so therefore you get fat. I know when I overeat, and don't get me wrong, I was fucking fat. I was overweight and, a stone and a half. I'm not having a go at people who are overweight. We're all in different levels or whatever else, but I nearly got diabetes. And I had to think about logically, like, what the fuck am I doing? Oh, that's obvious, isn't it? You're eating too much of this, you're eating too much. Because I had a quite high fat content around my muscles, the insulin was being made by my pancreas, but couldn't be dealt with because my muscles weren't absorbing the sugar quick enough because of the layer of fat between them and the muscles and the bloodstream. So therefore, my pancreas was overworking. Well, you do things like this to the body. You stress it to the extremes. In the end, it has a reaction. All disease is inflammatory. Cancer's inflammation. A single cell is inflamed and repeated and reflamed and inflated, and it fucking gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And cancer, though, non-malignant cancer, will just be one cell gets bigger and bigger and bigger and turns into a mole. If it's malignant cancer, it affects the cell next door and it turns into a bigger mole that turns into your whole head being a mole. Right? It's triggered by certain things. It could be hormonal, it could be lifestyle, it could be being subjected to an x-ray machine every fucking day. You have to, obviously there's a degree of luck as well, but honest to God, right? I look at things and I'm thinking to myself, right, there's no right or wrong to what type of cancer you could get. There's no because you've got breast cancer it must be just hormones. No, there's all different reasons. There's all different types of cancer. People think there's just one type of cancer. There isn't. When Laura got cancer, I was like, okay. So I looked at her records and she had in breast cancer you've got ER, PR, HER. And people talk about treble negative, treble positive, da da da. Well, HER is to do with your estrogen levels. PR is to do with your prostrogen levels, or whatever the other fucking hormone is that we use. I can't remember what it is. HER2 is to do with some kind of protein. Can't remember exactly what it does. Well, if you're positive for any of those three things, then they know how to treat it. Laura was PR8, ER8. Now the scale is 0 to 9. So that tells me that it's hormonal. So by giving Laura tamoxifen, which ain't the best drug in the world, I'm not going to sit here and lie, but giving her tamoxifen did stop her cancer. But if you're triple negative, that won't stop your cancer. What else is causing you to have cancer? Is it because you live down the road from a nuclear power station? Is it because you've had fucking 14,000 chest x-rays because you've got something else wrong with you? There's loads of aspects and reasons as to why. Cancer's so complex, it's so complicated that you can't just specifically say it's one thing. But it's the most traumatic thing that you could go through. Like, my girlfriend, I had to talk to the surgeon and suggest things as well. And that's the most insecure feeling. God knows how she felt. I felt insecure. And luckily the surgeon that she had was really good and allowed me to talk to her in a logical way and ask common-sensual questions, because I want to deal with the cause. I want to deal with the cause, not the symptoms. And Pharma likes to deal with the symptoms and not the cause. And I don't like that. I've never liked that with anything I do. So luckily, in that sense, I could use logic and common sense and apply it to it and then ask questions. And I got, like Laura was going to get radiation here. And I questioned her. I said, why are you giving her radiation there? One, you've stripped everything off of it. Two, it's above her heart. What, are you trying to give her more health conditions? Two things she enjoys doing, cycling, fitness and laying in the sun. And you're going to risk taking those away because there's a possibility there might be a single cell in her breast that the surgeon said she's removed. And the surgeon agreed with me. The surgeon actually, I give Laura a series of questions to ask the radiologist, that much so that she walked out. Didn't like it. Her surgeon had to stand up to the radiologist and said, no, only radiate under her arm. She doesn't need that radiation. Now, if it wasn't for me asking those questions, they'd have just gone away. You know, you're just a number. They'd just treat you accordingly. But the thing is, when it comes to things like these, you have to question. But the more and more I look at it, the more and more it can't just be solely luck and hormones. You know, there's times when that happens. Of course there is. You know, you live down the road from a nuclear power station. You've had too many x-rays. You've got a hormone problem or genetic issue that's something that you was born with. You know, you are what you eat. How many fucking times? You are what you eat. Your body reproduces itself every fucking day. It replicates itself over a period of time. You are what you eat, right? Do you see animals pull up by a fucking well and make themselves a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or an alcoholic drink? Yeah, okay, they might eat fermenting fruit off the floor, so they do get drunk. Birds do get drunk. Animals drink water. Water. What are we? 70 fucking % water. So if you drink coffee all day without drinking any water, your liver and your kidneys are fucking really working, putting all the toxins out to take the water that they need to replace the old water. You know when you've got a fish tank and you ain't got a pump in there, and then you've got a fish tank with a pump in there, the fish tank with the pump will be clean. The fish tank without the pump won't be. Right? Now them two fucking ideas there, the one with the pump is your body cleaning it, so your liver and your kidneys cleaning that water. Without a liver and a kidney, because it cleans water and blood, right? Kidneys clean your blood and the liver cleans your water. Without those two pumps running, you'd have that green toxic fish tank that you see when no one's got a pump in, right? But the thing is them pumps can get overworked, the filter can get blocked. So if you keep doing things out of moderation, in the end what happens is things get clogged and they stop functioning and the body reacts. Now, we all have vices, we all have things we like doing. I'm not saying I'm fucking superior or any better off or any whatever else, but people go on about experts. Of course, there's times when you need an expert. You know, I'm not going to fucking turn around and say I can do brain surgery because I fucking can't, right? Let's just be you know, oh, I need to do open heart surgery. Oh yeah, I'll do it. I'll read a book. Systematic instruction. Come on, there's a point, right? But it doesn't mean that you can't systematically take the instruction and question the expert of their expertise. What? So since when has it been to the point where you can't question an expert? You can't actually interact with an expert and have a valid debate with an expert. Why are they more superior? Oh, I'm an expert. I know what I'm talking about. You have no clue. Well, I can't ask questions. In order to be constructive, you sometimes need to be negative. Sometimes you have to say, that idea is shit. Why don't we do it like that? Because common sense says da da da. Do you see what I mean? So it's got to the point where you can't even question anything. You just believe what everyone says because they've got a degree, and that's the end of it. You know, I just don't understand. I really struggle with it because common sense helped me with Laura and her sickness, and I've always been the kind of person who's questioned. Emotionally, it's a fuckery. But luckily, I'm quite good with emotional shit, so I can deal with it. But it fucked with me. So fuck knows how some people deal with it. I just don't know. But you've got to stay in the right mindset. I had to stay positive. Even if I was in a bad mood, I had to try and be positive. It's not that I couldn't show a bad mood. Of course I could. But I had to be in a positive light because the rest of the family weren't in a positive light. And if I don't keep in that positive life, I don't keep the person who's sick in a positive light. And therefore they start thinking negative. And when they start thinking negative, you create negative outcome. This is a factual thing. You have to be in the right mindset. What do you think the placebo effect is? You know, that's a known thing. When they test pharmaceutical drugs, placebo is there. Research the placebo effect. You understand. It's all about this. This is important. I'm not saying this is the only thing. There's other aspects of it. It's really complex, but it's fundamentally common sense and think and ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions, even if you're not an expert. Peace, love and light.